Hi, I'm Kendall Eaton, the author of A Chance for Everyone, the Parallel Non-Monetary Economy. The parallel non-monetary economy represents over 10 years of discussions and research into 650 global networks, organisations, campaign groups, new economic methods, alternative economies, and over 70 authors on economy have been considered. The parallel non-monetary economy is not something we have to invent. It's already here and has always existed since people started to exchange goods and services. Neoliberalism has reduced the global formal workforce to only 12.5% of the population. Of that 12.5%, in the largest three economies, between 25 and 40% of that workforce is in the gig economy. In addition, artificial intelligence is supplementing many middle class or highly qualified professions. 50% of every national population own no more than 5% of the wealth. What do the other 87.5% of the population do all day? Twiddle their thumbs? No, they work their butts off. Barter, invent, craft, produce, recycle, use the black market, and anything that they have, their skills, bodies, charms, even organs, to exchange. All of that in the global monetary economy amounts to no economic value. And that's what the parallel non-monetary economy can change. What form does the parallel non-monetary economy, or PNME, take? 1. It's an abstract, automatic, digital, numeric, non-monetary accounting system, not a material system. 2. It's horizontally monitored by peer-to-peer mechanism and decentralised random global collective. 3. It's used only in the moment of exchange of goods and services. 4. It has no material value, does not need to be backed by collateral or assets, and requires no pre-existing budget or balance. 5. It never exchanges or has any equivalence to money, so does not need international exchange rates. 6. Its function can always be designed to outperform money. It'll work because it already works. It's the way that we receive and spend most of our money, right? We know it's just digital numbers exchanging in electronic accounts, but when that happens either negatively or positively, we associate that with a representation of value. And that's where it differs with the parallel non-monetary economy. If you think of it as access codes or sports scoring mechanisms, HTML or other coding, these are examples of numerical use that grants access without the numbers having any relation whatsoever to the results that they acquire. The advantages of this are: 1. It needn't be carried or supported by any material means or by something that we can lose. 2. It cannot be stolen or misused by another individual. 3. It's directly connected to each unique individual by biometrics. 4. It needs no source and doesn't depend on material resources. 5. It doesn't need distributing by any controlling body. It is self-generated. How is the PNME collated? It automatically adds and subtracts digits through various measurement technologies, statistics, biometrics, peer validation, GPS barcoding, QR codes, etc. Will it necessitate an enormous technological footprint? Actually, it will save on technological footprint in contrast to the vast array of systems operating all aspects of the monetary economy. It can be a single system using glass mass data storage, which is currently being restricted and suppressed to sustain the data tech market. It reduces dependency upon materials and fossil fuel due to the sheer volume glass data can accommodate. Blockchain technology will record it, and later on, when accounting is all automated and all but irrelevant, we can consider holochain, which facilitates transactions in the same way but without storing the data. This will need to satisfy legal requirements for the purpose of reporting or disputes. How is it earned? Well, it monitors all daily activities that society designates as abstract or formal labour. Abstract or meaning informal labour. So let's have a look first at informal or abstract labour. Each individual, from rising to sleeping, and including some sleep, works to care for themselves or their family and others. Sleeping, cleaning, cooking, eating, maintaining a home, parenting, etc. For this, statisticians can work out how many points are required for daily living and what constitutes work. Then calculate a personal, universal basic income that everyone earns as a foundation level. On top of this, various activities, including formal employment, earns additional units. So here's a few examples. Example 1. A person grows their own vegetables and herbs. Now that's abstract work that's additional to their UBI, because it saves companies having to produce that food. Let's say they share this produce with their family. Well, that comes under the UBI because the UBI covers familial care. If they decide to share it with friends over a dinner, that will be leisure and doesn't earn points. If they decide to share it with a community group, that constitutes work because they're building social cohesion under an official setup. If they share it with an elderly person, even if they're related and who maybe require specific care, that equals a form of labour. So they would earn points for that because they are preventing the necessity for an official service to come in and provide that work. So that's one example. Example 2. A child enters nursery and starts to learn. Well, that would be a form of work. The child's mind is assessing everything in a formal environment or service that's being provided. It then progresses to primary school, secondary school, university, etc. All of that learning constitutes work and is contributing to social cohesion and development. From infancy to adulthood, education and sharing that knowledge, even personal research and thinking time as a statistical assessment or part of a formal project would constitute work. So people from infancy into adulthood earn for learning. Example 3. A homeless alcoholic or drug addict who chooses to continue that lifestyle by choice or addiction needs to clean their bedding and clothing or someone to help them, and that is work. That could be covered under their personal universal basic income. What they choose to spend the UBI on is immaterial. It's unlikely that they won't be housed in some facility or have their own, because the PNME expands all services at no cost. Social, psychiatric, community care services, public-led policing, hospitals, drug rehab and medical research into alternatives. All those costs have been turned to profit by the PNME. So let's have a look at formal employment. Say a business decides to implement the PNME account and employment in addition to their monetary accounting. They now self-generate the personal PNME. This also contributes to social, environmental regeneration and sustainable economy, so relieves them of any form of taxation. For facilitating material exchange or services, they can earn a dividend in the PNME for the business separate to their personal earnings, either as a regular ongoing amount or a static one-off revenue for agreeing to meet PNME standards. It can also receive a percentage on top of each transaction if necessary. This means even if a business fails, it is still generating marginal profit, albeit less additional profit than successful enterprises. Profits from markup will be competitive, since most, if not all, overheads reduced to zero, so will always be able to undercut. New forms of profit-making strategies may arise from this. This makes business compete in a totally different way, depending upon the personal ambition. It will force businesses to focus on quality of customer satisfaction, longer lasting, more effective products, using fewer or greener resources, generating less waste, etc. Large businesses will be disqualified if stockpiling and using mercantile profit maximising, but the PNME eliminates most of their costs, including wages. This means that employers can have beyond optimum, flexible employment and keep more of their money, but it obligates them to negotiate with employees to meet PNME terms and standards. The PNME will prioritise challenging and unattractive crucial public services, health and science, with higher rates for fewer hours of labour. How is it spent? Every company, maybe every person, will have a sensor that detects the exchange. It can be approved by a thumbprint or any existing technology we're familiar with in our personal mobile phone and camera use. So a person could walk into an outlet, pick up goods that they require and walk out without any transaction appearing. It would all be automatic and invisible. So that changes the mentality of how we go about acquiring goods in a practical way. Since all businesses implementing the PNME save monetary resources, this makes green options and industry far more accessible, implementable and profitable than monetary enterprises. The PNME allows increased monetary reserves to pay off debt and turns the monetary economy solvent before it becomes obsolete. Its obsolescence will be a matter of choice. It's likely to eliminate most money-motivated criminal participation, expanding policing and any other means to tackle remaining crime. The PNME will outlaw carnal conflict and inhibiting of any other person's individual right to generate the PNME income. All political decisions are governed by fiscal policy. This is likely to be in the form of local, regional and national public assemblies, feeding back the decisions of everyday people. This should remove all party politics as incapable of representing society. Any person of any age attending a public meeting to contribute to decisions on topics that are of personal interest to them, from street cleaning to beekeeping, child and refugee care to how they want homes to be rebuilt, remodelled, are earning PNME units as this is work. How realistic is the parallel non-monetary economy? The PNME isn't something for nothing, it's people's labour. But think of, one, what the monetary economy is made up of, first of all. Electronic digits far exceeding the value of material assets. Two, the elite are exceptionally skilled and opportunist at acquiring things for nothing. Tax concessions, voluntary labour, favours, government contracts, bailouts, subsidies, bribery and financialisation. The rent economy and intellectual property rights make huge profits from doing precisely nothing. Add to this the gig economy and artificial intelligence, and the neoliberal machine has created the perfect storm for the general public. 3. People's kindness and concern. What is it worth? Charities, NGOs, UN departments, campaign organisations, social capital generating match funding. These are all used to calculate credit and reduced monetary budgets, not what the fictitious value of all that work is worth. That is what the PNME values. So what if we contrast what the PNME looks like in comparison to the existing monetary economy and its processes? The global monetary economy in 2022 totaled 405 trillion. 105 trillion in equity plus 300 trillion in debt. That's 3/4 of the global economy was debt, of which the top 10 wealthiest net worth was 1,500 billion. That's only 0.374% of the gross. The richest person, net worth 211 billion, represents 0.052% of the economy. The 12.5% formal labour force amounted to 50 billion approximately. That's 0.047 of the net and only 0.012 of the gross economy. To finance projects, banks calculate each person's potential lifetime account with them, and it averages out around about $1.5 million per person. So here's an exercise. Let's just suppose that we decided the PNME had an equal monetary equivalent of $1, like the Swiss franc equals 1 Swiss franc in value when it's exchanged. It's not money, it never mixes with money. Let's say, just for this exercise, we did that with the parallel economy. The global parallel non-monetary equivalent would be worth $140.16 trillion. That exceeds the current equity rate of the global monetary economy. So if we decided to use the same credit leveraging that the banks use for domestic accounts, this would generate a credit of $8,788 trillion per annum, doing just what money is doing right now. So what if we made the PNME worth more than $1 per 1 unit? Well, this is not really how the PNME will operate, but because the PNME does not relate to any material value, either in monetary or assets or commodities, services, because it doesn't relate to them, we can make that unit acquire whatever we want it to acquire and always outperform money. Who makes it happen? Elite capitalists won't bring this about because money works perfectly for them and their objectives as it is. But they cannot be left out. they can have the opportunity to form a considerable green industrial scale movement using the PNME. So it's going to be down to everyday people. Public movements in the 21st century successfully altered politics in many of the lands they occurred in. 4 movements resulted in public-led governments, but they had to compromise or abandon their manifesto promises and principles to meet the neoliberal economic impositions. But they were successful. They just didn't have the answer to financialisation and the elite and neoliberalism. The PNME gives us that solution. So how do we go about implementing it? Well, there are 3 options or processes. The quickest, that could see global implementation within 2 years, is this. We invite executives from education institutes, campaign networks, charities, NGOs, New Economic Method organisations, community reps, struggling public services, experts in blockchain, biotech and digital mathematical accounting to study the PNME concept and concretise processes that can facilitate it. Publicise a conference to all interested parties and allies to workshop and project and demonstrate what the PNME does for them. Set it up and implement it in community groups, refugee camps or nationally in disaster areas. Lobby governments or change them. That could happen quite rapidly. The second option is direct unilateral implementation, and any single community could study the PNME and within 1 year could adopt it, and overnight it could practically transform their circumstances. Then when other communities around the world see what it does for them, they will also want it, and it could spread globally within 2 to 3 years. So this can be done by any struggling national economy or community that wants direct democracy. It could be a refugee camp or a disaster zone, or it could be any struggling public service like the NHS, any sizable organisation that want a different way of going about how they organise their business, and this could revolutionise it and set an example for others. So what they would do is facilitate a meeting of the representatives we mentioned above and community leaders with a view to unilaterally designing the mechanisms that implement the PNME. Go about it. They don't need government or commercial support or approval for doing this. We just do it. The third option is to educate, form alliances, appeal, lobby or withdraw support from organisations if they don't respond, and this could take 3 years. So we approach all of the above representatives, offer education sessions and workshops on the PNME, compile a concretised pathway to facilitating and implementing it, publicise this to all the concerned organisations globally, hold conferences, secure an international collective with agreed principles and caveats, and get members of those organisations, if they ignore it or they don't want to do it, the members of all those organisations in their hundreds of millions could withdraw their membership and economic support of those organisations on the basis that they're ignoring this plan, and that would force them to take it seriously. If that doesn't work, then we form our own global community and create a circular parallel non-monetary economy, and then conference the results of that circular economy. It is a gross mistake to link the parallel non-monetary economy to any monetary value, because all that does is sustain the same motives and pitfalls of the monetary economy and doesn't change crime, injustice or corruption. The PNME, as a valueless figure, can procure far more than the monetary economy can. It's time that the 99% came together and overtook the 1%.